Have you ever looked at your life and thought, how is it possible that I'm still here, still stuck, still waiting for the breakthrough that was supposed to come by now? You've been doing the work, you show up, you push through the hard days, you follow the plan. And yet somehow it still feels like you're running on a treadmill, like there's lots of motion but just no momentum. So that's the question. Why do I feel behind when I've been trying so hard? It can wear you down, and it can wear down your hope if you do not know how to dismantle it properly, right? So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dismantle it so you can get set free from it. Welcome to the Confident Christian Woman podcast. This is where we tackle questions about things that have been keeping you stuck in unfulfillment, in dissatisfaction, or just straight up misery. It's where you will find the help that you need to move forward from confusion, fear, or self-doubt into joy and fulfillment and peace. This is where we become confident Christian women who don't only believe, we also obey. And before we dive into today's question, I have a gift for you that goes hand in hand with what we talk about here. It's called the Clarity Roadmap. It's only a couple of pages long, so it's easy for you to digest. And it will help you to reflect and to pray and to take action as you listen along. So grab it at the link in the show notes. All right, now, if that question, why do I feel behind when I've been trying so hard? If it has been playing on repeat in your mind, then you're in the right place. First of all, I want you to know that you're not crazy and you're not lazy. That was an unintentional rhyme, but it's true. You also need to be aware that we live in a world that tends to worship productivity and performance. So if you don't look like you are quote unquote winning by whatever standard is being shoved into your face, or if it looks like somebody else is further ahead than you, then it is very easy to feel like you're falling behind. But what if the truth is that you're not behind at all? What if feeling behind, despite doing everything right, isn't a reflection of your effort? And what if it's not a reflection of your worthiness of receiving that feeling of success or the trappings of success? What if it's a sign that it's time to ask a different question? That's exactly what we're doing today. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the opportunity that this icky behind feeling might be covering up. And let's talk about how to tell when it's time to let go of the path that you're on, even if it's one that you have worked really hard to get to. So go back in time with me now to about 15 years ago. By every worldly external measure or yardstick, I had arrived. I was a vice president in a large, profitable, top-tier corporation. I had the title, the paycheck, the benefits, like the whole deal. Plus, I was in a relationship that looked really great. It's the kind of, it had the kind of power couple image that you'd see on Instagram if I was into that stuff. I had the house on the hill, and I had the luxury car parked in the driveway of the house on the hill, and I had all this stuff. And I mean, I had real made it vibes, like, right? My life was just emanating those vibes. But the truth is, I felt awful. I was just unsettled deep in my soul, and I could not figure out why. Right? I kept asking myself, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just enjoy what I have worked so hard for? And I thought that I was the problem. looking back on all of it now, like I can see that I wasn't the problem per se. Really, the choice that I had made was the problem. And the choice that I had made was to walk someone else's path. I was living out someone else's version of success and happiness, and that was the real problem. I had been handed a script, and that script said, go to school, get the degree, climb the corporate ladder, land a relationship, buy the house, and fill it with all this stuff. And I had followed that script to the letter. But it wasn't my script, and it wasn't my story. It wasn't the path that God had laid out for me specifically. And that disconnect was what was slowly just draining me. And I didn't even realize that that was what it was. I didn't even realize. What made all of this even harder was the fear that if I did step away from that path, then people would think I was nuts, right? I would think I was insane. I mean, who gives up a lucrative VP position and a picture perfect life on purpose? I don't think you would blame me for thinking that way, because our brains are wired to keep us safe. And I mean, like, quote unquote safe, because that's a whole other concept. So anyway, our brains' number one job is survival. It will do whatever it takes to keep you from perceived threats. Like it will do what it needs to do to keep you safe from them, right? And one of the biggest threats, especially from a social standpoint, is rejection. Like rejection is a real threat to us in our brains. Being seen as different or weird, and I'm using those in quotes because those are judgments, right? Or straying from the norm. Historically, it meant getting cut off from the group. So even when the life that you're living doesn't feel aligned, when it feels like it's just out of sync, your brain is still saying to you, yeah, maybe it's misaligned, but at least you're safe and at least you belong. And that's why it feels unsafe to follow God's call when that call is leading you off of the socially prescribed path. Because you risk judgment, you risk being misunderstood, and you risk loss. On the flip side of all of that, though, you gain freedom, you gain purpose, you gain authenticity, you gain alignment, you gain peace that passes all understanding. And you gain confidence because you know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And what anybody else thinks about that is no longer your business, because it doesn't matter to you anymore. Let's look at Abraham, who was later called Abraham. You know, he is such an excellent case study for like a lot of what we talk about on this podcast. In Genesis 12 verse 11, and I'm gonna use the amplified classic version because it pulls out so much that we can easily miss. So it says in Genesis 12:1, now in Haran the Lord said to Abram, go for yourself, for your own advantage, away from your country, from your relatives and your father's house, to the land that I will show you. There is no GPS in that command. There is no timeline. There is no multi-point plan, right? There is only an instruction. And there is a promise. Go, that's the instruction, and I will show you. That's a promise. And then Hebrews 11 verse 8, it sort of zooms out and it gives us this same story of Abraham through the lens of faith. It says, urged on by faith, Abraham, when he was called, obeyed and went forth to a place which he was destined to receive as an inheritance. And he went, although he did not know or trouble his mind about where he was to go. That part that says, although he did not know or trouble his mind about where to go, that is where most of us get stuck. We don't want to move unless we are sure, like 100% sure that it's going to work out. Or unless we know with zero doubts that it will be worth it. But a lot of the time, God calls us into motion before the full roadmap is clear. Honestly, sometimes even before the full vision is clear. And when we are faithful in that unknown and in that uncertainty, that is where transformation starts to happen. Abraham didn't see the full blessing until after he had obeyed, and that is the same thing that is true for us now. So let's reframe that exhausting question. Honestly, it's such an exhausting question. Why do I feel behind when I've been trying so hard? Let's ask this instead. Am I chasing the right dream, or am I chasing the one that I was told would make me feel worthy? Behind, the whole idea of behind only makes sense if you have agreed to a race that's a fixed route and a finish line, right? But what if your life isn't a race? I know it might be hard to consider that because you have been living like it is a race for all of your life. But what if it's not a race? What if it's a journey with God where the goal isn't achievement, right? It isn't awards and medals and positions and titles. What if it's alignment? And I mean alignment with who God has called you to be, and alignment with the purpose for which He has called and created you. If you've been measuring your progress against someone else's map or against a map that somebody else handed you, of course you're gonna feel behind. Of course you are. But that doesn't mean that you're failing, right? It might just mean that it's time to drop that map, to let go of it, to let go of this map that somebody else handed you, and to start following the real guide instead. So with all of that in mind, here is a simple but powerful action step for you to take this week. Get honest about your dream. Get honest about it. And let me tell you from experience that this is a powerful action. Because all those years that I was chasing somebody else's dream, that I was chasing the dream that I was told that I should want, that would make me feel successful and happy, well, I stuffed my real dream into a box and buried it so deep that when God busted me out of my successful looking fake life, it took me a while, several months actually, the better part of a year, to even remember that precious hidden dream that I'd had from the very beginning. But when I finally did remember it, I also realized that God had planted that seed in my heart from the very beginning. And I had a responsibility that I didn't realize. My responsibility was to nurture it and to allow it to lead me to His unique path for me. It was when I started doing that I finally started to unlock real success and happiness, right? Real feelings of success and happiness. So take some time to think on and to answer these questions for yourself. Remember now, I do not ask rhetorical questions on this on this podcast. These questions are asked to help you to unearth this, like what's really going on, and to help to bring you to a place of freedom, right? Truth and freedom, because the truth is what will set you free. So here are some questions to help you to unearth the seed of your real dream if you have forgotten what it is, or if you just need help bringing it back to the forefront of your mind. If I was brave enough to start fresh, what would I build? What would I stop doing? What would I say yes to? What would I finally let go of? Let the answers that come up surprise you. Don't edit yourself. Don't censor yourself. Don't add any buts. Well, I would, but just leave off the but, okay? Just allow all of that to just bubble up to the surface so you can recognize them again. Because this is not about being impulsive and chucking everything that you've built today. It's about telling yourself the truth. And that truth can set you free from this I'm behind trap that you've been stuck in. Now, if you don't take the time to do that deeper excavation work, which I highly recommend that you do, but if you choose not to, at the very least, bring this prayer to God. Lord, please show me where I've been chasing someone else's version of enough and someone else's version of success. And please help me to hear you clearly when you call me into something that is more aligned with what you have for me and who you made me to be. And let that prayer open up a conversation between you and God this week. Not a one-time, burning bush, fire from heaven moment, but an ongoing dialogue, because it might take some time to kind of peel back the layers of this onion and really reveal what it is that you truly desire and what will bring you into alignment with who and what God is calling you to. So let's land this plane. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe God is inviting you to see a new opportunity. Maybe the ache that is in your spirit that's making you feel like you're behind is not an indication of inadequacy or an indication of failure. Maybe it is a flashing neon sign that is trying to point you from the path that you were handed to the path that God always meant for you. Yes, it takes courage, believe me, having done it myself and having had to go through it myself. It takes courage to let go of what you've built through the sweat of your own brow, what you have built on your own. When you realize that it's really not yours to keep, it takes courage to let go of that. But what God builds with you, well, that lasts for eternity. And there's nothing better than that. If today's episode stirred something in you, whether it was hope or clarity or even just a little nudge from God, don't forget to download the Clarity Roadmap. It's a free guide that will give you a quick jump start out of feeling stuck. You can print it, you can pray through it, you can use it as a journaling companion if you want. Remember, you don't have to have all the answers. You only need your one next step. And this free roadmap is a great place to start. To get it, all you need to do is click the link in the show notes.